Trump threatens to cut all federal funding to sanctuary cities. Guys, I thought we already did that. Right? And I do think that if you are going against whatever the federal government is absolutely mandating and demanding of you, and you are receiving some type of federal funds, I don't think you should be receiving federal funds. I think that's the rules here. Should be the rules. If they're not, then we have a broken system, guys. Right? But either way, let's jump into it to see suggestion via Discord, guys.
These sanctuary cities, because Pam Bondi's going to be all over them, suing them.
Tom Homan
going to take their federal funding away. Sanctuary cities are sanctuaries for criminals. Bottom line.
Borders are Tom Homan, as President Trump is vowing to withhold all federal funding from sanctuary cities. That certainly would escalate his crackdown on illegal immigration. Welcome to a brand new hour of America's Newsroom. I'm still Dana Perino. Bill Hemmer is off today.
Bill is still off.
He's still off today.
He didn't come in for the second half. I'm Martha McCallum, joining Dana today. Great to have all of you with us on this Friday morning. So back to this story of sanctuary cities and states facing a potential loss of billions in federal aid as Homeland Security and ICE ramp up their efforts to enforce immigration laws that are already on the books.
Okay.
President Trump stating on Truth Social in part, no more sanctuary cities, working on papers to withhold all federal funding for any city or state that allows these death traps to exist. Eric Shawn has more in our newsroom. Hi, Eric. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Dana and Martha. Well, President Trump is threatening to cut off federal funding to sanctuary cities and states. You know, that could mean untold hundreds of billions of dollars could dry up. Or forgiving illegal immigrants for being in the U.S. could come at a very high cost to jurisdictions that protect them and do not cooperate with federal law enforcement agencies like ICE. The Trump administration could shut down all federal funding to the sanctuary city and states if they do not change their policies. Right now, an estimated 11 states are considered sanctuary states by the Federation for American Immigration Reform, and some cities, counties, and towns also protect undocumented immigrants. Among the cities, Chicago. That's where Mayor Brandon Johnson responded to the president's threat by saying he will, quote, vigorously defend Chicagoans from any unconstitutional or unlawful attempts to strip residents of the funding and services that they are entitled to. New York City, another sanctuary city, is already suing the Trump administration to stop it from taking back more than $260 million.
Yeah, guys, I just wanted to kind of get the whole story here for a second here. All right, so Tom Homan started this video out here by basically saying sanctuary cities are sanctuary for criminals. It's interesting that he said that, right? I mean, obviously, depending on how you look at the overall migrant crisis, right? I mean, it depends. If you're referring to like primary offense type of migrants, where their main offense is breaking into the country, basically trespassing on our lands, okay. But I would say sanctuary cities specifically are sanctuaries for secondary offense migrants, okay? Mainly these individuals, the ones who get locked up and they get basically put out on like dollar bonds, referring to like Chicago, New York, these places here, guys, right? The ones who are fighting the literal hardest to make sure that ICE and Tom Homan, Kristi Noem, right, are having no real access to getting the people that are committing crimes, specifically the ones who are migrants, committing crime out of the country. Right? They're trying to shield the people from going to El Salvador. That's what they're doing. They're just trying their hardest. And I think if you're doing this here, fighting against the federal government, I'm not sure that you should have any type of federal funding. All right, but let's continue.
Trump administration to stop it from taking back more than $260 million
taking notes,
for
guys.
Migrants. The city has so far spent more than $7 billion on the influx, and Mayor Eric Adams says the feds should pay back the whole thing.
Nah, that's
hats off to the Homeland Security Secretary and to Tom over at ICE and others that want to collaborate with us on dealing with criminal behavior. We're clear that we don't deal with those who are dealing with civil enforcement. The city doesn't allow us to do that.
Okay.
Well, Tom over at ICE, of course, is Tom Homan. Well, Mayor Adams' press secretary told Fox News that the mayor has been clear that people living in the city should not be afraid to use city resources like calling 911 or sending their children to school. But he says the city needs to find ways to work with the federal government to prosecute people who commit crimes.
Yep.
Back to you.
Yeah, but the problem with New York is that New York is full of like absolute bureaucracy, guys. All right, so look, regardless of whatever Eric Adam wants, he can't specifically kind of wave a brush here, guys. Right? So the governor of New York State is definitely not going to sign off on that, and the people that are basically surrounding the mayor are also not going to sign off on that because everyone basically is like super woke, right? They're just like, you know what? Listen, we have to give the people a chance so they can vote for us in like 10 years.
All right, Eric, Sean, thank you.
So more on this with Jessica Charlov, co-host of The Five, and Noah Rothman, senior writer for the National Review. Great to have both of you with us. Jessica, let me start with you. This is obviously something that is very top of mind for President Trump. He wants to see change. And it's a lever, and he's using it in a couple places where he can say, look, do what you want, but you're not going to have your federal funding if you don't uphold federal law.
Yeah, the issue will be how much of the federal funding is, appropriated through Congress and how much he can actually control. So there has been a bit of a tango between Trump and Congress on his funding ideas and what he's in control of, and Congress appropriates majority of the money, but they need to be careful with this. I understand what Mayor Adams is saying, and I think you should cooperate. If they can identify violent felons, criminals who are here illegally, I think every sanctuary city mayor should cooperate with that.
Definitely.
But this funding is also used for things like supporting the public school system, domestic violence shelters, federal funds can be fungible in a lot of ways. We've had that conversation on a variety of topics. And so I think the mayor should be forthcoming to say, you tell us exactly who you're going to pick up, because they have been picking up people that do not fit that profile. And that has become an outrage even in some very conservative areas, like in Sackett's Harbor in New York, where Tom Homan actually has a house. They picked up a woman and her 3 school-age children who ended up in a detention center. And they were only guilty of being in the same Wi-Fi network as someone that they were actually trying to find.
All right, so this is one of the things that the president is trying to fight back against. These are blue city mayors who testified just a month ago.
Oh, the 4 of them?
Any actions that amplify fears of deportations make Chicago more dangerous.
I must create an atmosphere that allows every law-abiding resident, documented or not, to access vital services without fear of being turned over to federal authorities.
I am here to make sure that the city of Boston is safe.
Get rid of her immediately.
Others may want to bring hell. We are here to bring peace to cities everywhere.
No. Her and the mayor of Chicago, specifically. All right, I think this is the issue here. Okay, don't get me wrong. Denver, like Colorado, is basically the same. In the same issue out there, guys. Right? But I would say she's definitely one of the worst ones. Her, and then the guy from Chicago.
Everywhere.
And we'll just pull up for everybody to see. The number of illegal aliens released in sanctuary cities is goes up well over 20,000. And the president is saying, I have a tool in my toolbox. I'm willing to use it, and that would be the money.
Well, first, it strikes me that it's so difficult to have a conversation with advocates for sanctuary city policies because we cannot even define our terms in mutually agreeable ways. They're suggesting here that law-abiding citizens, documented or undocumented, shouldn't be targeted in this situation. Well, we're talking about lawbreakers. If they are undocumented, if they're not here on a visa, if they're not here as a legal permanent resident, they are lawbreakers. We can't even begin from a premise that we mutually agree on. Jessica's right. The courts granted Donald Trump the capacity to withhold law enforcement grants from these cities, very narrow in particular. The president could overextend his legal authority here, and I think this administration is very tempted by the prospect of testing its legal authority in the courts and seeing what they push back on.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly who Donald Trump is, in fact.
But the federal government does wield the power of appropriated funds in order to induce certain behaviors. It's not uncommon. It's sanctioned in this case, as long as it's narrowly defined. And I think the president has the wind at his back politically. Sanctuary cities are not particularly popular, not among most Americans, not even among the cities that engage in these processes. So
that's valid also.
Testing these blue state mayors and their willingness to stand by their own politics, I think, is probably something that will advance his interests.
Interesting.
Wait, did you say Atlanta is a sanctuary city? Really? I would have known that, guys. I mean, I'm not too far from Atlanta, so I don't really notice anything weird about the city, guys.
Moment in the Oval Office the other day. Let's do call for number 4. Watch this.
We're honored to have Gretchen Whitmer from Michigan, great state of Michigan. And she's really done an excellent job, and a very good person.
I was like, did he just say Gretchen Whitmer when that happened the other day? And she came out quickly backpedaling that, just because I'm there, I didn't know I was going to be in the Oval Office.
He did this on purpose, and this is a smart, crafty Trump thing to do. He knows Gretchen Whitmer will be a key contender in the 2028 primary, and he wants to make sure that the Democrats are mad at her. You got your wish. Democrats are really mad at her.
One thing I really truthfully deeply like about Trump, I will say so. I'm gonna give him like a really good compliment here. I think he has the ability to communicate and kind of galvanize a group of people kind of behind him, pretty much based off of his words. I like how he, whenever he does speak of someone, he normally starts with a compliment, let's say, right? And then he just completely generally eviscerates the person, but he generally starts with a compliment, right? And he's like a super blunt, like old school New York guy. I can't explain it, guys. I'm from New York, so it kind of feels like nostalgia almost, guys.
And she had this big day planned. She was supposed to roll out this huge economic platform. She had an 8:30 a.m. speech. Democrats, it began with being upset that she was talking about how, a well-used tariff can be a good thing, but this has gone too far. Democrats are not in the mood, actually, to say that anything that's going on right now is decent or makes any sense. Protectionist Democrats are basically hiding in the closet at this particular moment. Even Bernie Sanders, someone who's advocated for tariffs before, isn't talking like that. He's saying this is just a gross overreach. And
right. I mean, listen. Even Obama he was advocating for tariffs. He spoke on them regularly. What happened, Obama?
Trump knew that he could make some fodder for campaign footage when she rolls out.
But before she runs for president, Gretchen Whitmer is the governor of Michigan, and she went there and she was basically like, thank you, Mr. President, for signing this bill that will help us deal with the Asian carp, which is a problem in the lakes.
Yeah, I mean, she's the governor of a state with a very union-heavy population, which is deferential to trade protectionist policies. And she's attempting to be consistent here with her own politics, but the gravity has just shifted. I mean, the earth has shifted out from under her feet. As Jessica said, Democrats are in no mood to see anybody in the proximity of Donald Trump, even in the same room, much less agreeing with him on a principle, especially one that is roiling the markets today. Democratic partisans who are going to defend, are going to determine who the nominee is. It's a light year between now and 2027 when the primaries begin. And that image may be bombarded to primary voters. We don't know whether or not it'll matter. But it will matter whether Gretchen Whitmer was supportive of these policies, which are going to have very prolonged effects on markets and prolonged effects in everybody's wallets, and where she stands in 3 years from now. Is she going to be defending this very same position that she adopted today? I doubt it.
All right. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, you guys.
Good to have you.
Good to see you both.
All right, guys. I should probably find out exactly who this person is. I mean, it's always really important to kind of know, as much as you possibly can about, generally as many topics as you possibly can. I've heard her name a couple of times. I've never really dug in to figure out, who she is. If the Democrats are going to run her, I think that's intriguing. At least doesn't surprise me at all. But it definitely would be intriguing to kind of find a little bit more information kind of regarding it. Now, the topic at hand here. Yes, bro, cut federal funding. If that's a possibility, all right, do that. Okay, that's kind of where I'm at right now. All right, I think it's very important that people kind of fall in line for the most part here, guys, for the betterment of the country. I'm not understanding how there are these strongholds, right, all around the nation that are specifically calling themselves sanctuary states and cities. And you're doing that to the detriment of the country. It's not really, don't get me wrong here. It's moderately beneficial when you have people that are never going to basically receive anything from Social Security, like paying into taxes, right? And some people are confused with that when that statement is made here. How does a person that is illegal pay taxes? They pay local taxes, bro. In fact, right? What they do is they go to the store, they buy something, they pay taxes, bro. That's how they pay taxes. Yeah. But, all right, guys, listen. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. You guys all have an absolutely amazing day. Enjoy your day.